Hi everyone, welcome back to Jess Reads. I'm Jess, and this is going to be my March reading wrap-up. And this is actually going to be a two-parter because we're going to do the wrap-up and then we're also going to be doing a fantasy haul because in the past couple of weeks I've acquired some fantasy books, and that's kind of important because I've never been one to read much fantasy, but lately I've just been on this like crazy fantasy kick. I mean, I blame booktube, but I say blame in the way that I don't blame you, you know. But yeah, so let's just get right into it. So the first book I read this month was Tell Me Three Things by Julie Buxbaum, and this is about a girl named Jessie who her mother dies and she moves with her father, who gets remarried to this woman who has a son. So they all move to California basically, and she is all upset and depressed and she misses home. And one day she gets an email from this person who calls themselves SN. Yeah, I forgot initials, sue me. So they call themselves SN, and throughout the book she is basically conversing with him through, or her, I don't know. I do know, but I'm not gonna say. I totally just gave it away, didn't I? Oh well. You still have to read the book to find out like exactly what happens, so spoiler alert, sorry not sorry. They basically converse through emails and I think maybe text, I'm not totally sure. I think it's just emails though. And they basically have to tell each other three things, like three facts about themselves, or but throughout the book it gets like deeper into like their secrets and their biggest fears and like just things like that. It was a really good book for what it is. I mean, I rated it 4 stars, so I enjoyed it. So the next book that I read was Curated by Nellie Wilson, and this book involves a historian named Emmy and also a paleontologist named Ryan, and they both work at university museums, but their like departments have to merge or something. I'm not really sure like how that would work, but so they meet, and it's basically a Grumpy versus Sunshine, so it's that kind of thing, but it's reverse Grumpy Sunshine, and they basically, and how do I explain this? She is like, all business, and she has like really debilitating anxiety. So I will say this book has like really great anxiety representation. And so what happens is, well, I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens, spoilers, but they have to like learn to work together to like get this museum like successful and things like that. So they kind of have to like bond, and basically Ryan needs to like make Emmy like him, so he's like doing all these things, and it's a real, I mean, there's some spice, I will say that, but that's all I'm gonna say about that. Oh, and in case it wasn't obvious, I rated it 5 stars. So yeah. Next, I read Blindside by Candy Steiner, and as you can see, I started annotating, but I didn't finish. I got kind of impatient, like, because I wanted, it's bad, but I couldn't handle it. I tried. It's not my thing. But I mean, it looks kind of cute, right? So basically, Blindside follows Gianna and, what the hell is his name? Clay. Gianna and Clay. And Gianna is the public relations coordinator of the football team, and Clay is literally like the star quarterback. So what happens is Clay's girlfriend breaks up with him, and Gianna wants to catch the attention of this like musician who plays in like a bar on campus or something. I didn't really catch that part. I know he's just like a musician. I don't know where like he was playing. I probably should have paid more attention. Um, but what happens is they basically have to like help each other, so they start fake dating. And I I rated it 5 stars again, so clearly I enjoyed it. The next book I'm talking about is A Guide to Being Just Friends by Sophie Sullivan, and this follows Haley and Wes, and this is actually part of the Jansen Brothers series, or series, I guess. Yeah, it's a series, but they're like very separate books. They are standalones, but they're like about the same like group of brothers. So basically, what this is about is Haley owns like a salad shop, and Wes is like Wes is like, I don't really know how to describe him. Like his thing is that he doesn't do relationships because of his parents' divorce. So basically what happens in the beginning is he's supposed to be on a date, but basically what happens is Wes is supposed to be on a blind date, but he like they end up at the same place, and he thinks that she's his date, but she's not, obviously. And what happens is they go their separate ways, but then they like strike up a friendship, and they have to like keep each other in the friend zone, but it gets, increasingly difficult. And, especially because Wes doesn't really do relationships, but, Haley kind of finds herself falling for him. And this I rated, what did I rate this? Oh, what a surprise, 5 stars. We have The Love Wager by none other than Lynn Painter, who is like my literary goddess. I love her so much, and this book was no exception. This follows Hallie Piper, and she has a one-night stand with this guy named Jack, but she like kind of leaves it and hopes that she'll never have to see him again, but she does. And they basically like agree to be friends, and like, oh, they're not interested in each other because like the hookup went so badly, but they basically make a bet to see who can find love first. And I like how in the synopsis it says like, spoiler alert, they get a lot of tacos together. That's just funny to me, I don't know. And then they kind of, what happens is they end up having to go to a wedding, and what happens is they basically realize that, like lines are being blurred and all that fun stuff. Like why did they even like the hookup went bad, but like why did they even agree to go their separate ways in the first place, And I rated this 5 stars. I didn't even have to look at that. Like, it's Lynn Painter. I knew I'd rate it 5 stars. There's a lot of 5-star ratings in this. Like, I'm not going to apologize because there's nothing to apologize for, but it's not, I'm not like a very strict rating person. Like, I just do what I feel. So, yeah. Now I want to talk about a book that I had received an ARC for, and it just recently came out on the 30th of March, but I read it before that, obviously, because I had the ARC. So thank you to Erin Branscombe for that. Oh yeah, I should probably say that the book is All in Time by Erin Branscombe, which is part of the Freedom Valley series. It is book number 3, and this follows a woman named Melly who is trying to escape her like very abusive husband, and she has a son. So she takes the son, and they go to Freedom Valley, and they have to like change their names and like move there to start over, and it's this whole thing. And it's basically like a found family like with romance, because like the series as a whole, like I said, it's the Freedom Valley series, and this is number 3. So the series as a whole is like a found family sort of thing with romance as like, I don't want to call it a subplot because it's very like romantic, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, basically it explores like Melly and Ty's budding relationship, and it also, it talks a lot about like her past, and she's trying to hide her past, but like eventually things about it start coming out, and yeah, it's like it's pretty hard. It was pretty hard to read, but like, hard in the way that like it affected me. I enjoyed it. And guess what? I rated it 5 stars. Now, this next book is a book that I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with, and it is The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. I want to say Han. It could be Han. I'm not totally sure, so my apologies. But I'm sure a lot of you have seen the Netflix series or read the books then watched the series. Personally, I actually haven't watched the series, but I did want to read the book. Like, I admit it was a moment of like, it's there and I'm curious, so, you know. Guess what? I rated this 3 stars. I know, what a surprise. But, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it, so that's like 3 stars right in the middle. But this is basically about a girl named Belly, and she visits her family friend's beach house every summer, and apparently the summer is like different, so she has these 2 friends, Jeremiah and... what the hell is his name? Sorry. Jeremiah and Conrad, and they both, it's kind of like a love triangle, but like she's still kind of in the middle, even though it's a triangle, you know what I mean? Because she has to choose between the brothers. But, yeah, like I said, it was a short read too. I literally finished it like in an afternoon at Barnes and Noble, so, but like I said, I didn't hate it, so do with that what you will. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm just gonna keep spewing idioms. Is that the right word? Who knows? So this next book I want to talk about is probably one of the best books I've ever read in my whole life, and I'm not saying that like lightly. I'll say right off the bat, 5 stars. So I read this book, I'll say this right now, I read this book for a future video, but I still wanted to include it. Like, I'm not going to tell you what the video is yet, but it's for a future video, so just keep an eye out for that. Did I even say what the name of the book was yet? I didn't tell you yet. It's Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. This book is very heavy, like trigger warnings right off the bat. Like, just go into it with caution, very carefully. Like, only you know what you can handle. So, yeah. I should tell you what it's about, but like, it's just, I don't know if I want to talk about it. It's just like a lot of very heavy topics. So, I'll let you do your own research for this one. And the final book I read this past month was The Playlist by Morgan Elizabeth. And the reason that I decided to read this book was because apparently Morgan is this huge Swiftie just like me, and this book is like based off of Taylor's music, and it's called The Playlist, so it's literally like, it's not like based off of her songs, but it incorporates the songs into... Basically, it follows Zoe and Xander, and Xander is Zoe's best friend's older brother, but they've, like, been in love their whole lives, but they're too shy to admit it to each other, so Xander kind of finally says, like, okay, that's it, like, she needs to know, we need to be together. So he takes her on a road trip because Zoe is about to apply for this job in, what is it, like, New York or something like that? Or it's like a job interview. She has to like prepare for it. And so he takes her on a road trip like for the whole week before the interview. And he kind of he tells her to like pretend they're dating so that he can like show her how much he loves her, but she takes that as like, yeah, like this is all pretend, and when we come back from the trip it's like nothing ever happened. But she goes along with it anyway. So this book, that laugh is not like, oh god, this sucked. Like, this is a laugh like there's a hell of a lot of spice in this book. Like, a lot. And, you know, as an elder Swiftie, you know, I'm almost 30. I enjoyed the spice more than the Taylor references. I really did, I'll tell you that. And, I guess for that reason, I rated this 4 stars, because, you know, the Taylor parts were cute. Like, that's what made me, like, read it. But, you know, came for the Taylor, stayed for the spice. Let's put it that way. Okay, so for part 2 of this video, this is going to be, did I say it earlier? I've been filming for, like, a good amount of time, so I don't remember if I even mentioned this in the beginning. I have been reading, or not reading yet, but acquiring a lot of fantasy novels because of BookTube and BookTwitter and Bookstagram. So I have here, I guess, 4 fantasy books that I've acquired so far. Keyword so far, because physically, like, I have 4 here, but in my mind, like, I go to the bookstore constantly, and, like, I know which ones I want to read. So maybe I'll do a video on, like, my hopefuls for fantasies. We'll see. But, so the first book that I have here is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. And the reason I have this, I just realized I should have taken it out for the video. It's behind me, so, oh wait. Come on. Oh god. There we go. Okay, so basically, I won the Ballad of Never After in a giveaway. But, you know, first of all, I entered the giveaway. Like, it wasn't like someone told me, like, enter this giveaway or, like, I'm gonna ruin your life. Like, I voluntarily entered the giveaway. I knew that this was the prize, and I entered it anyway. But because I didn't realize that this was the second book, that was the whole thing. Like, that's why I entered, because I knew it was fantasy, but I didn't realize it was the second. So I haven't yet read it, so I was like, okay, I should just get the first and, you know, and just read it already, read both of them, and not be done with it, but just, like, read it because I want to read it. So this follows Evangeline Fox, and is it okay? It's okay if I just read the synopses, right? Because I don't want to say that's cheating, but, like, I also don't want to bore you, but this one's fairly short, so we're gonna read it. Evangeline Fox has always believed in true love and happy endings until she learns that the love of her life will marry another. Desperate to stop the wedding, Evangeline strikes a deal with the charismatic, immortal Prince of Hearts, but she soon discovers that bargaining with the Prince of Hearts is a dangerous game. He has plans for Evangeline, plans that will either end in the greatest happily ever after or the most exquisite tragedy. So, I think this will be the first one that I read, because this seems, I mean, the first, like, obviously between the two, the first one, I'm gonna read the first, but I mean, like, the first out of the 4 fantasy books that I have. Well, I guess 5, because I have Ballad of Never After, but you know what I mean. We're gonna probably dive into that pretty soon, maybe for my April hopefuls. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do a video on that. We'll see if I put one up next week. And if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. So the next book I have is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I have heard so many good things about this book. And this is I don't want to say it's like a retelling, but it's not a spin-off. Well, I guess it's more of a spin-off than a retelling, because it's about Wonderland, but, you know, there's no Alice, but there is the Queen. Is it the Queen of Hearts? I don't really. Well, okay, we'll read the synopsis and see where this is headed. Catherine may be one of the most desired girls in Wonderland and a favorite of the unmarried king, but her interests lie elsewhere. A talented baker, she wants to open a shop and create delectable pastries. But for her mother, such a goal is unthinkable for a woman who could be a queen. So it is about the Queen of Hearts, I guess. At a royal ball where Kath is expected to receive the king's marriage proposal, she meets handsome and mysterious Jest. For the first time, she feels the pull of true attraction. At the risk of offending the king and infuriating her parents, she and Jest enter into a secret courtship. Kath is determined to choose her own destiny, but in a land thriving with magic, madness, and monsters, fate has other plans. Sorry, I'm like drooling because I'm reading so much. But this book just, ooh, I didn't even notice this. Look at this inside the cover. That's awesome. But this seems like the perfect fantasy also because I'm a big fan of Alice in Wonderland, so I'm really excited to read this. So next we have the Fairy Bargains of Prospect Hill by, who is this by? Rowena Miller. And when I saw this in Barnes & Noble, I mean, look how pretty it is, and it's about fairies. I was like, okay, like, for a fantasy book, like, this has to be right up my alley. And this, like I said, it's about fairies, but it says, there is no magic on Prospect Hill or anywhere else for that matter, but just on the other side of the veil is the world of the Fae. Generations ago, the first farmers learned to bargain small trades to make their lives a little easier. A bit of glass to find something lost, a cup of milk for better layers in the chicken coop. I almost thought it said chicken soup. Much of that old wisdom was lost as the riverboats gave way to the rail lines and the farmers took work at mills and factories. Elaine Fairborn's family, however, was always superstitious, and she still hums the rhymes to ensure dry weather on her sister's wedding day. That's a lot of words. When Delphine confides that her new husband is not the man she thought he was, Elaine will stop at nothing to help her sister escape him. Small bargains buy them time, but the price for true freedom may be more than they're willing to pay. I mean, tell me that doesn't sound at least the slightest bit intriguing. And I'll say it again, it's about fairies. Like, I want to read this. And the last fantasy book I have here is The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. And I originally, like, had not heard of this, like, you know, like beforehand. I was in Barnes & Noble, and I was in the YA fantasy section, and I saw this, and I don't know, something about, like, well, first of all, like, the cover, there's, like, autumn leaves all over it, and the nature of witches. I mean, it's about witches. I know, I'm like, it's about fairies, it's about witches, like, it doesn't take much convincing for me to read something if you just tell me it's about, like, fairies or witches, I guess. Okay, so we're just gonna read the synopsis of this. For centuries, witches have maintained the climate, but now their control is faltering as the atmosphere becomes more erratic, the storms more destructive. All hope lies with Clara, a once-in-a-generation Everwitch whose magic is tied to every season. In autumn, Clara wants nothing to do with her power. It's wild and volatile, and the price of her magic, losing the one she loves, is too high, despite the need to control the increasingly dangerous weather. In winter, the world is on the precipice of disaster. Fires burn, storms rage, and Clara accepts that she's the only one who can make a difference. In spring, she falls for Sang, the witch training her. As her magic grows, so do her feelings for him until she's terrified Sang will be the next one she loses. In summer, Clara must choose between her power and her happiness, her duty and the people she loves, before she loses Sang and her magic and the world is thrust into chaos. I mean, again, that just sounds awesome. I mean, and it goes through, like, all the seasons, and I mean, I'm hooked. I'm sold. Whatever. Alright, y'all, so that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, feel free to give it a like, drop a comment, and if you're not subscribed, please feel free to do so. I'd appreciate it. I would really like to hit 100 subscribers by the end of this month, so tell your friends, tell your family, I don't know. All right, well, I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. When am I posting this? It's gonna be Wednesdays. Yeah, this is probably gonna be Wednesday's video. So I hope you're having a wonderful week, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.